We spend so much time making sure our families are taken care of.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think it's easy to overlook some of the less exciting parts of that.
Yeah.
Like, are we really prepared for the unexpected? It's
Right.
not exactly dinner table conversation, is it?
It's not the most fun thing to think about.
Not at all. But I think that's why this story from Diversified Insurance Brokers really struck a chord with me.
Oh, yeah.
They've got this blog post. It's called The Life Insurance Policy That Made All the Difference. And it's a real eye-opener when it comes to seeing how life insurance can actually play out,
Yeah.
in a real situation.
I think those kinds of stories are so important because they take something like insurance, which can feel very like numbers and figures,
Yeah.
and actually make it human and relatable.
Totally, totally. And that's what we're diving into today.
All right, let's do it.
So this story is about a couple, Sarah and Mark.
Okay.
They're in their early 40s. They've got 2 young kids.
Mm.
Mark, he's got his own small business. He's the primary breadwinner. Sarah's doing some part-time consulting while managing everything at home.
Sounds pretty familiar.
Right. But here's the thing. They were proactive about something a lot of us put off.
What's that?
They sat down and thought, okay, what if something happens to one of us?
Oh, that's huge.
It is. And that's, I think, where a lot of people maybe get stuck.
Yeah, it's tough to face those what ifs.
For sure. But they recognized that protecting their family wasn't just about, being there emotionally.
Right.
It was about the financial reality, too.
Absolutely. And that's where planning comes in.
Exactly. So they ended up working with Diversified Insurance Brokers and got themselves a 20-year term life insurance policy
Okay.
with a substantial death benefit.
Oh.
Now,
No.
hold on a sec. I got to jump in here for those of us who aren't insurance experts.
You're.
What exactly does death benefit mean?
Oh, good point. Yeah, so the death benefit is basically the money, the lump sum of money that the insurance company pays out to the beneficiary when the insured person dies. And in this case, that would be Sarah.
So if something happened to Mark,
Exactly. It's meant to help them financially during a really, really tough time.
and that money is tax-free,
Right. Yes, it is.
so Sarah wouldn't have to worry about losing a big chunk of it.
Nope. It's there to help not create more problems.
That's good to know.
Yeah, and going back to Sarah and Mark, they didn't just choose a random number for their coverage.
Right.
They actually sat down and they looked at their mortgage, their living expenses, how much it would cost to put their kids through college.
Smart.
And they made sure that death benefit would cover all of that.
So they were thinking long-term,
Absolutely.
which is so important. But then the unthinkable happened a few years later. Mark passed away suddenly from a health issue.
Oh, wow.
I can't even imagine what Sarah must have gone through.
Just the emotional toll alone would be unimaginable.
Right. But on top of that, suddenly she's facing their entire financial future.
Yeah, it's hard to even comprehend having to deal with all that while you're grieving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's where that life insurance policy really kicked in.
It became a lifeline in a way.
Totally. It paid out that death benefit, and Sarah was able to pay off their entire mortgage.
Wow, that must have been such a relief.
No more monthly payments, just like that.
That's one less huge thing to worry about.
And it brings up a good point too, right? Your life insurance needs really depend on your own financial obligations.
Yeah, everyone's situation is different, but for homeowners, that mortgage is often the biggest piece of the pie.
Definitely. And for Sarah, that made a world of difference because the death benefit also meant she didn't have to jump back into work full time right away.
Oh, that's so crucial.
She had time to grieve, to be there for her kids,
Mm.
to figure out their next steps without that intense financial pressure.
And that's something we often overlook, the time and space to heal and adjust.
Exactly. And there's more. She was even able to set up a college savings plan for her kids.
Wow.
Think about that their education was protected even after this tragedy.
That's incredible.
They could maintain some semblance of their lifestyle, which gave them the breathing room they needed to adapt.
It really shows the power of planning ahead.
Doesn't. It makes you wonder if something were to happen to you,
Right.
would your loved ones be in a similar position?
That's a question everyone should ask themselves.
Because, let's face it, if Mark hadn't taken those steps, things could have been very different for Sarah.
Oh, absolutely.
She might have had to sell their home,
Yeah.
take on debt.
Potentially even delay her children's education just to make ends meet.
And those are choices no one wants to face, especially in the midst of grief.
It's heartbreaking to think about.
But it's the reality, and that's what makes having that safety net so important.
It's about peace of mind.
More than anything, it's not just about numbers on a page.
Yeah.
It's about protecting the people we care about most.
And knowing your options when it comes to life insurance,
Right.
like Sarah and Mark went with term life insurance,
Yeah.
which is usually a good choice if you need coverage for a specific period of time. It's generally more affordable too.
Well,
But there are other options like whole life insurance, which covers you for your whole life and can build cash value.
oh yeah, that reminds me. Their policy was for 20 years, right?
Yes.
What happens after that? Does it just vanish?
Well, term life insurance does expire after the term is up.
I see.
But they could choose to renew it, though the premiums might go up.
Okay.
Or they could explore other options depending on their needs at that time.
So it's not set in stone.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the point is, for those 20 years, they had that security of knowing their family was protected.
That peace of mind is priceless.
Absolutely.
This whole story is a good reminder that we can't predict what tomorrow holds,
Nope.
but we can be prepared for it.
We can, and we should.
So if you haven't thought about life insurance, or maybe you're not sure if you have enough, now's the time to start exploring your options.
I completely agree. What steps can you take today to make sure your loved ones are protected no matter what happens?
That's the question to ask.
It is.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive for today. But keep that question in mind, because it's one worth pondering.
It really is.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next one.